Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Painted in Color. I'm co-host Lauren Brown, joined by a wonderful mentee who's going to introduce herself in a second. But we are trying out a new format where we are starting little mentorships and seeing how we go from here. So I really hope you enjoy this episode. This is a wonderful artist with a wonderful portfolio. So I really, really hope that you love her work and support her. So thank you. Enjoy. Nia, thank you so much for doing this and coming on the show. I really appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank you for having me. This is exciting. I'm excited to
Yeah,
be.
it is no problem whatsoever. It is definitely my pleasure. Um, so we met at Lightbox Expo
Yeah, we met
during
at
one of the parties, and it was really
yes.
fun.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, and you showed me your work, and I was like, oh my goodness, like your work is so wonderful.
Oh,
And
thank you so much.
yeah, so like tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Hi. Well, I'm Nia McKanders, and I am a Detroit-based illustrator and visual developer. I'm currently, right now, at this moment of this recording, I'm a senior at CCS, College for Creative Studies, with a minor in animation, and I am pushing to get into the entertainment arts and animation industry. That's the goal. I Most of my work is um, TV animation based, but I have a range of different like character designs, and I'm a character designer that can go into multiple different mediums and formats. So that is kind of the gist of where I'm at. Character designer, visual developer, illustrator.
Awesome. What,
Yes.
so if you don't mind me asking, like, what's your goal studios? Like, where do you want to end up? Like, if you had a dream, like, it's always weird to say dream job because, like, for me, who's like been in like several different studios, it never
Yeah.
ends up like the dream. But if you could pick a few, like maybe three, your top three studios that you would like to end up, where would they be?
Um, uh, Top three big dreams, of course, like Disney, Nickelodeon, and I would love to work at Cartoon Saloon,
Oh,
and because their style, the work, the artistry that they have in their work is just so genuine that it would be a dream to work there. More than anything, because I'm open to so much, more than anything, I would love to work in TV, like just TV animation, from jump, because I feel that getting versed in that environment and being able to be adaptable to that work ethic, style, fast turnarounds, everything having to do with that, will kind of equip me to be able to adapt to a little bit of anything. But those would be like my top three studios, if for yeah. I'm so open and welcome to getting in anywhere. I'm like, I just want to get my foot through the door, man. Like I'm just willing to learn. More than anything, I'm just like, I want to learn as much as I can from anywhere in any position. So yeah.
that's an awesome attitude to have. And gosh, I remember being there. It feels like it's not that long ago, but it's been a long time. But I know what it was like to just like, I'm just like, I just want anything. Like, please just give me anything.
Yeah.
So I am happy to help guide you on the path that you want to take, and also to take your work to where it can actually get you into that path. And I think it's already pretty close to being there anyway.
Oh,
But let's go ahead and like, I would love to like look at your work and see
yes.
where you're at and see what you want to do. We're looking at your work. So let's see. I'm just gonna intuitively navigate first
Yeah.
and see where we end up.
Yes.
So let's see. Oh, I love this. So first off, okay, for everybody who's watching, a nice thing to always have when you have a character design project or just like a general like world project, you have a description and you tell me what her name is, and you have not just the character herself, but or let me see, let me make sure that's her pronoun. Yep, that's her pronouns. You have the character herself, but also silhouettes that you've explored. You have expressions, you have poses, and you have her like just interacting in her world. So you immediately get a sense of who this character is and like what she's like. I feel like that's something that's missing a lot in people's portfolios. Oftentimes when they say they want to be a character designer, they have a character just like standing there, or like just like one image, or just like a few in the poses. Let's see if you have the thing that I'm going to be looking for though. But so far, this is really cool. She has a lot of personality and she's really cute.
Thank you.
Let's see. Nina. Yeah, judgmental. Yeah, you can see it's funny because you can tell the personality just like even without the blurb. I can already tell like she's probably judgmental. Like it shows a lot of your shape language is also really good too.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you have a very good sense of motion. Tell me what your inspirations are.
So a lot of my inspirations for this particular beginning project is like my life as a teenage robot, very like 2000s animation style, heavy shape language. That's one thing that I have been heavily pushing towards in my art style career. I really like shape and I like the balance of being able to see the shape come through the character as like a very forward piece. With this project, it's based on these two girls in school that are forced to hang out with each other and get transported to other dimensions and other realms. And through these different dimensions and realms, they're dealt with different problems and issues based in like mental health and relationships, but just manifested in different ways. So for this one, they're doing roller derby with the stars, and their whole point is that they're literally like fighting and like doing roller derby with star characters, and they have to like find a way to get out of the universe and like fix the issue and the problem, while doing the roller derby in these different outfits and costumes and powers and things of that nature. So this is just like my exploration of that. Their designs, their expressions, their characters, everything having to do with that.
Oh, these are great. So this is like Magical Girl Roller Derby?
Yeah, like Magical Girl Roller Derby. Yes, exactly.
Let's go. That's so good.
Yes. My biggest point with this project is to mash magical girls, black girls, and like the oddest, most weird universes that you could think of. And another universe, they're doing a what is it? They're riding bullfrogs. You know, like the whole point is that they're in this like saloon and they're bull riding bullfrogs. So every universe they go to, they have a different outfit, different design, different costumes, things like that.
Oh, this is cool.
Yeah, and then those are the characters in that universe that they end up meeting, and often it's a big contrast between them and
Yeah.
their signs. So yeah.
Yeah, I love stylistic subversion in certain shows. Like obviously like Gumball is like a big one that just
Yeah.
like has different styles converging in one universe. And I feel
Yes.
like TV is really cool because it gives a lot of room for that kind of that transformation of what your expectations are versus like what you give them. And like just giving a completely different look and feel. Like I really love this a lot that you have this incorporated into your world too.
Thank you.
Oh, this is so cute. Oh, these are adorable. I love them.
So that's the first project.
That's your first project. Okay.
Yeah.
So before I move on to the second one, I want to talk about this one first, just
Okay.
as its own project.
Yeah.
And also what I would suggest too is just like separating out the projects in their own different tabs, just for ease
Okay.
of navigation more than anything else. Because this is not necessarily a bad thing to have like two projects in one tab, but I'm expecting to see only this, and you have definitely enough material to fill out one page. So just like yeah, so like if the person hasn't finished scrolling down who's looking at your portfolio, and you don't want them to completely miss the second project, so just have it in another like section.
Right.
Or if you can do like a drop down like of your like work, and I mean it depends on how you want to set it up, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. I understand. Okay,
Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense.
yeah, you can have it on the main page. So yeah, for these, so overall, what I'm noticing is that your proportions and your style is really solid. I can definitely tell what your point of view is from looking at this. You have already, especially that you're in college and you already have a pretty clearly defined like message and voice that you want to convey, and that comes across really well here, which is is great. Once again, that's something that I try to stress with a lot of students, especially that like they try to chase what they think other studios want from them. And I think that you are instead giving studios what you want to give them. Like, here's me and here's my personality. I want to hand this to you and hopefully you like it. And I think that's a much better way of going about it, because that gives a much more cohesive and strong point of view. And I definitely see that coming across here. I see a few like small anatomical issues, like nothing major. And again, like I think that this is like, this probably could get you in the door, to be honest, even with those minor errors, because like, again, you're just starting. This is new, but the way that you've approached this project is very much like, it's presented in a way that I would have suggested to a lot of people to do. So good on you for doing that. So yeah, like the small things, again, these are very minor nitpicky things, but like the hip proportions versus the legs, like just having that varying thickness between the two of them, I would probably just like make that a little bit more balanced, a little bit more even. I do think this might be just a stylistic thing, so I don't want to like critique it too hard, but like this straight versus curve is like a nice thing, but I think the way that it's incorporated, you probably want to give a little bit more room on this left side for that like straight to like really have that nice contrast with that like curve and then the straight line. I think it cuts off a little bit too abruptly, but again, like this might be like more of a subjective thing, and if it's a style, if it's an intentional style choice, I know some cartoons can really bend and push it, but when you're bending and pushing style, you want to make it feel intentional. So if it doesn't feel intentional, then it's going to be noticeable.
Right.
So that means you have to push it to the extreme. And I think also, this is another super minor thing. Again, like take these all with a grain of salt. You can do what you want. But I think that some of the rules that you've established in your character design and how you incorporate these pointed lines versus your curves can seem a little inconsistent, because like I'm getting a really, really strong point here, really strong point here, but then I'm not getting it so much here where I would expect to see it. So it's like creating that consistency throughout your character designs, because that's what you have to do as a character designer in animation, is you establish the rules and you make sure that you match, like everybody else can match those rules, and you're the first one who has to match those rules for yourself. You can always break them, but they should be broken in situations that are specifically like, here's the situations where you can break these rules. But if it's applied inconsistently throughout normal poses, then it stands out as like, okay, like this seems a little inconsistent. So these are just small things to make it like more cohesive together. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I didn't, and I appreciate you going deeper into that, because I didn't even notice it until you said it. So I'm just very appreciative. That's why I'm so quiet, because I'm like, okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, and I'm gonna stop and ask you if things make sense, just because I can tend to talk fast, and my tendency is to pile on a lot of things at once. So
yeah, I'm
trying to be cognizant of like stopping and letting you like have some air to process.
No, yeah, I wholeheartedly get it. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, like, so another thing too, again, this is animation, and consistency is really hard when you're doing multiple angles and like characters, but big things too is that like your facial proportions, you want to make sure that between like these two characters, this is clearly the same character with here and here, and I'm getting like different facial proportions here. So that nice round cheek I'm not seeing here. It's much lower on the head than it is here. The roundness of the top, the space of the top of her head is like much less than it is in this one. So she looks like a different person here, even though I can tell it's the same character. Like, you want to make sure, again, you're very careful about matching the exact proportions of the face, and like even as she's like, as it's distorting when she does different expressions, you still want to have those same general proportions. And so here too, like her forehead is a little bigger in this pose, so you want to make it more consistent to this. And oftentimes what character designers will do is if they have that basic head shape, and it's in the same general pose and angle, they'll take that head shape and then work off of the original drawing and then turn off of it, so that so that you can keep those same proportions and have that reference point. Same here too, like we're losing some of that that iconic like really round head shape. Now we have more of a point up here. So like these are all little things that character designers notice. So you want to make sure that you catch those in your designs too.
Okay.
All right, so let's move on to Nina. She's giving Daria a little bit. I like that.
Yeah.
That personality. It's really cool. Let's see if I have the same notes of her. I feel like Nina is overall a little bit more consistent. Let me look closer. But again, I think it's about like when you incorporate that point and how that strong, super straight. It's giving me also a little bit of Total Drama Island. as well.
Yeah, I did. I did. I referenced like a lot of the like 2000 shows that were and the shows that are heavily shape based. I reference those a lot. Yeah, so that's definitely something that I was looking at for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, I can definitely tell the influences, but again, you have your own personality in it, so it doesn't look derivative of that. It just looks like I'm like, oh, it reminds me of this, but it's not like
Yeah,
exactly that.
right.
But again, like if you're going to have your extreme pointed lines that go down to that straight, like you have here, you want to again incorporate that consistently. So I would expect to see more of that straight line here with that opposing curve on the leg, kind of like you have here. So again,
Yeah,
like these small things of like just applying that consistency throughout your character design lineup so that I know that you've established rules, you are aware of your rules, and you know when to apply them and when to break them, and
right.
only breaking them in extreme situations. In a base character sheet, I wouldn't break the rules unless there's an extreme pose going on. You're saying this is an example of like when you break this certain rule.
Mhm.
And you point that out because then anybody who's animating off of your character designs will know, okay, I only break the rules when she's screaming like crazy and her mouth goes off of her face or something like
Right,
that.
right.
um but generally you don't want to break too much of your rules, so make sure that you don't do that. But this one is a little bit more consistent than Alana is.
Yeah.
Let's see. And then we have turnarounds, which thank God. Like I love seeing turnarounds. I never see turnarounds in character designers' portfolios. Bless you. It's so nice. Um, so yeah, these turnarounds are really cool. And again, like if you're gonna have this model, you want to make sure that all the heads match this model. Make sure all the
Yep.
heads match this model when you're doing your
Yep.
poses.
Yep.
And ultimately, again, I think my only big note for this is that like I want to see kind of like a little bit more of that curve before it drops off. But
Okay.
otherwise, it's a really fun turnaround, and you have it posed, so there's personality in the turnaround. I think generally in animation I've seen turnarounds with both posed and without posed.
Okay.
I'm going to go through the rest of the projects, but I want to also make sure that you can do unposed turnarounds too, because sometimes
Okay.
we need a flat model to be able to do best work off of, depending on what project you're on.
Mhm.
It's always going to vary from team to team. Also, I think Nina's silhouette probably would be a little bit stronger. First, we have a tangent here. I always look out for tangents.
Yep.
But second off, I think that the pose would be stronger if this whole line here was just like a straight line down, because like
Okay.
breaking that silhouette a little bit feels awkward with the straight line and then this like quick sudden like point. I feel like having that curve right down on that leg would feel really seamless with the front of the body. Again,
Yeah.
that's take out with a grain of salt, but I just think that'd be a stronger silhouette.
Yeah.
But overall, I think that these two character designs are really fun and strong, and I just adore these. These are so much fun.
Thank
Um,
you.
yeah, again, minor note, I think that I would just center the crotch a little bit more because like the body is kind of like I wish I could, let me see, annotate. Oh, I can annotate. Okay, good. Let's see if this works. Yeah, it does
Yeah.
work. So, okay. So right now our center line is going here, but then here. And I
Yeah.
think that if you want to turn the body just a little bit, it would probably go more like this or like more like this, like an even split. But
Yeah.
like little things like that, I just noticed. So just make sure that your proportions are still following even as they're stylized, because the stylized proportions always follow real life and then you break real life, but
Break. Yeah.
knowing those rules.
Right.
But yeah, like the color language here, the personality, the design, is really, really fun. Um, I'm like squinting in my eyes to see your proportions. So, like we're doing a pretty good, like in threes, like we have interest all in all three quadrants of the character design. So that's good. Um, I was going to say that this area might feel a little bit flat because there's so much gray here, but I'm not sure. Like I like the simplicity of it. Like like I always like overcomplicate things. So again, grain of salt. But
No,
like
yeah.
something like here or like a stripe down here, like might help to break it up a little bit more.
Okay.
But these are minor things.
Yeah.
But overall, like, there's just so much personality and so much magic. Like I definitely immediately get magical girl vibe.
Yes.
So
That's
that's really
good. Thank you.
fun. You're definitely communicating here, uh, which is great. Yeah, again too. So it's interesting because like Nina is usually so like drab in
Yes.
her personality. Is she like loving this? Because she seems like she's loving this.
Yeah, so in this universe particularly, Nina is a better skater than Alana is. So
Mhm.
Nina is kind of like having a great time. Meanwhile, Alana is struggling to get through this universe because she can't skate. So Nina's kind of like the star, so to
Yeah.
speak, when it comes to this storyline, particularly, because they have to like find a like the world revolves around roller derby. So
Yeah.
in order for them to get out of this world, in order for them to move, to the next stage of their project in their universe, they have to beat the biggest roller derby team of the stars. So it's kind of like I gotta skate. You kind of have to go crazy. You have to put your all into it. So with this design, I really wanted to push her getting out of her comfort zone and really push the excitement that comes with trying something that is unexpected. Like she's normally in the normal world, she's very secluded. She only has two friends. She sticks to her two friends. She doesn't like outside people. Her and Alana are not friends to begin with at the beginning of the series. Like they
Yeah.
they they don't like each other necessarily. They
Also, it's
are
enemies
just
to friends.
yeah. So
Love that.
eventually, because they're doing this together, they start to build this relationship, this unexpected relationship with each other, and just showing the changes in the dynamic and the character growth over, from her normal self versus her roller derby self. I really wanted to show the contrast between those two worlds,
That's
essentially.
great. That's
Yeah.
great. I love that. I think that comes across really well. I really like how like the joy in her face as in contrast to like the original character design, even though I love characters with personalities like this because it's just fun to watch them. When they express emotion, like how do they express emotion? I
Right.
think that so this is something that I've named myself and I call it the floor of expectation. So what the floor of expectation is, and this is like totally made up, is basically what you set up for the viewer to expect and then how high above that floor of expectation you go. I
Okay.
think that there's a ceiling of like
Okay.
that's when it get like suspension of disbelief is basically within that box, and then once it exits out of that box, the disbelief is like no longer suspended. It's like, okay, like I don't know if that character would do that, or I don't know if it looked like her. I don't think
Right.
we're very far out of that box with her face, but I would like to see some transition between what you've set up as an expectation and what you're delivering here. Because I think this pose here is like a really good way of keeping the personality of the character without breaking it too much. Because right
Mhm.
now she looks like a different person here.
Okay.
And if I didn't see the name, I wouldn't know that it was Nina. I would think it was a different character because you're changing so many things at once. You're changing her
Right.
hairstyle, you're changing her clothes, but you're also changing how she's presenting her personality. I feel like this is representative of how good she feels in the outfit while also keeping that kind of like general uninterested looking face. So
Right.
I think that like while you can definitely do this, I feel like there's not much of a that leap that you've created here is a little bit jarring because I'm like, oh, I wouldn't have known it was Nina. But I
Right.
know that this is Nina. So keeping some of the expectation planted in the character design so that you're not going so far out of the box that like we're like, who is this? Why is this here?
Right.
Um, and it's not doing that stylistically at all. Like I can tell it's a part of the same universe, but you want that character to feel grounded. But your first draft feels really strong in pose and personality and how you convey her. And I think these poses are good too, but I think the face could keep that general kind of expression with that smile, with those bored, like those kind of more bored eyes, but like that
Yeah.
little glee coming
Yeah.
through. I feel like that would be stronger, Nina.
Okay. Cool. Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, like these prop call outs, these little details of the shoes, of the gloves, again, these are things that character designers have to do. And so I'm glad that you have included them here. And also I love this eye star shield. Again, like it's like this reminds me of like a little Goran Lagann. Which so many different shows have referenced. And I love little nods like that because TV animation does it very well. And again, it doesn't feel derivative. It feels original while giving me that sense of like nostalgia.
Oh
So
yeah, it looks
great
similar.
job.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. And these are just great. Like we're getting so much personality here. This also your line art is really clean. I love it.
Thank
Um
you.
yeah, like again, here's what I'm talking about. So we have the floor of we have the floor of expectation, which is her original face here, and then we have that face being broken here, but it still feels within world. It still feels within character because it's not so far outside of what you would expect from a character like that. She seems very expressive. So,
Right.
whereas this one, I think, oh God, I love these expressions too. Like we're getting, like, I think this is really strong because we still see that eye personality without breaking the face too much.
Right.
What I would also suggest for these character sheets is just include the original character design, just
Okay.
the line art too, just so we can compare and contrast how the original is looking versus the posed versions and the expression versions, because that helps set the expectation, because I had to keep scrolling back up and be like, how does she look again? Okay, does this
Right.
match the other one? So that just
Right.
eliminates that tension there.
Okay.
You want to make your portfolio very easy to browse, and it's already really easy to browse, so these are just
Right.
tips to make it even like more S tier.
Sorry, I gotta pull out mine.
Oh no, you're totally fine. God, she's so cute. Like I love these. The hip check is great.
Yes. Okay, go ahead. Continue. Sorry.
Oh yeah, you're all good. But yeah, I think that, yeah, even when she looks shocked, you still want to convey Nina. Like you want to make sure she still feels like Nina as you're breaking the face. So it's up to you how to keep that face feeling like authentic to the character. And like how far you want to push it. And if you're pushing it really extreme, it should be only for extreme situations. Um, what I am the only thing that I am missing from this project is the two of them interacting together.
Yes. Yes, I did get that note. I have sketches of them interacting together, but I don't have any what is it, like finalized formatted drawings of them together, which I am working on.
Oh,
Just
perfect.
I like, you ever do something and you're like, okay, yeah, yeah, and then you completely forget like the most basic, straightforward, like, oh my gosh, they're supposed to be friends, they're doing this together, why are they not in any drawings together?
Yeah,
So it's
no,
kind of
literally
like,
all the
okay,
time.
I gotta put them together and make sure they work together. Like, how did I not remember that?
Oh no, no,
Yeah.
no. And like be kind to, like, don't feel guilty about it. Like these are things that I always do too. Like I always forget to like add something that I meant to. So this is all a work in progress. This is all a living document. So don't feel like you have to have everything at once. Once again, these are all suggestions to bring your portfolio to like above S tier, because this is already like pretty high up there.
Yeah.
So these are the things that bring it above and beyond. Especially because like their whole story and everything is so interesting that seeing them interact together would really just get that full breadth of charm. And also, I think showing them as enemies and then how they interact as friends with that contrast would be so sweet. Like I would just love that.
Yeah.
So yeah, like that's, but already like what you have is like this is plenty of work. This is really clean work. It's very professionally presented. So don't feel like you're like not delivering on anything. Like this is awesome. So just letting you know that. And these guys I just love. They're so fun.
Yes.
So yeah, I think as you do this, like because you're breaking the style here, um, they have their own rule sets, and I think it's okay to be a little bit more fast and loose with the rule sets because they're supposed to feel alien. They're supposed to feel other than
Yeah.
the like the main characters. Like they're not of this world.
Right.
So that's coming across really, really well. I would try to establish some kind of general rule set for them, and it seems like you're kind of following it. Like they have more bendy limbs, but then some of them have like straighter limbs. So again, think about when you apply this very strong point and when you don't, why you're applying the point, like what you're trying to convey with the silhouette. Like, because I think that this guy here, he feels the weakest out of all of them because he's very symmetrical and he's not really giving me like that much of the I don't know what his deal is. He seems like, probably a berserker, not a berserker, a barbarian,
Yes.
tank kind of character. But I want
Yeah.
to see like a little bit more of that like strength on display, or like just a
Right.
little bit more of that. If he's stoic, then like really like make him feel like more solid, because he has his little arms and his like wide body, but I can slide under his legs just fine. So
Right.
maybe like pose him a little bit more interestingly. He's very symmetrical right now. Everybody else is really interesting.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I can definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, but these other guys are great. Like these two are my favorite. I love these guys.
Thank you. Yes, they were definitely a little challenging just because trying to, because I wanted to break the style so much, trying to find the middle ground between like, would that like would seeing Nina and them on the same screen together, would that work? Does it make sense, kind of thing. So it was definitely challenging, but I will take all your notes. Yes.
Yeah, and again, show them next to each other. So, like, see if they do make sense next to each other, and
Right.
show me that they make sense.
Right.
So, that's something else I would want to see here. But yeah, like I think that again, minor note, I think this little ring here makes
Mhm.
this stand out from the rest of the body because it's getting lost and it's starting to muddy up the silhouette that you've established here.
Okay.
So just like that toned out effects, I think it's working well here and with the white dwarf. Like this is just a silhouette, but then we're kind of just like muddying it up here.
Yeah.
And these guys are so cute. Yeah, see, these feel like of the same world for sure. Oh God, I love this one. How cute is this?
Yes.
Little doofy. I love him. Yeah, these are great.
Thank you.
All right, awesome. So that's part one. That was just one project. I know I spent a lot of time on it, but I can tell that you really enjoyed working on this. Did you enjoy working on this?
Yes, for sure. It's definitely it's really fun for me just because a lot of my other projects are more um the goal is for them to be more anatomically based, definitely a lot closer to realistic, so to speak. And with this project, I can push and pull and stretch and squash and, try multiple different things within the same universe. It's definitely a fun project for me to do because there are so many different ideas and universes that they could go through, so many different problems and issues that they would have to solve. And with every problem and issue, there's a new outfit. So how fun is that? You get to, it's like playing dress up every time. So yeah.
That's the beauty of the magical girl shows. It's like you
Yeah.
create that excitement to see what the next world is and how they dress in that world and
Yes.
what kind of adventures they get into. It's like it's a very good format for a show. So, I mean, it's something that I would totally watch. I would definitely watch it.
Thank you.
No problem.
Uh,
All
So this
right.
next project is just the Goonies. I decided to take the Goonies story, and instead of it being a bunch of white kids from the 80s, I made them a bunch of black kids from the 70s.
I love it.
So the whole same storyline. They go underground. They find the underground. What is it? Treasure and pirates and everything having to do with it, but it's set in Manhattan, New York City, and they go under the city to find it. So just character designs, variations within that universe.
All right. So continue to walk me through these.
So yeah, these are just different character designs and variations that I've made based off of the group of characters having to do with the Goonies. Of course, you have Mikey, who is the main character, and then instead of Dada, who is in the original movie Asian kid, I made it a black girl, and
Nice.
just to show that the otherness of between Dada and the rest of the group, I was like, okay, let's make her a girl, but make her like one of the boys or wants to be one of the boys type of girl. So yeah, just going through the different variations of that. And then Brandy, who is the girl, what is it, the teenager, the older teenager of the
Yeah.
group. Not everybody, I did not showcase every single character design in this part just because time and energy, but just that top part is the Goonies. And then as you continue down through the portfolio, that's just other one-off character designs that I have.
Oh, these are so cool. I love her.
Thank you. Those are my hoochie mermaids.
They're great. She reminds me of that one character from Bebe's Kids.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
her too,
based off.
actually.
Yes, they're all based off of different variations of like hoochie mama, but mermaids.
Yeah.
So
Was this for Mermaid or was this just for fun?
it was for mermaid.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are a lot of fun the way you play with proportions and like the different personalities and like that kind of,
Yeah.
that kind of attitude and look. It's fun. These characters are a lot of fun.
Thank
Oh, there's
you.
more. Oh, look at Scar. This is awesome.
Yes, thank you.
Love this. Yeah, these are a lot of fun. Oh, these are like Tuca and Birdie style.
Yes, yes.
This is great. Oh yeah, there's a lot of different things in here. So yeah, I think for these, like for all these sections, again, to not confuse your portfolio reviewer, keep them in like not all of them, because obviously some of these are just one-offs, but have their own sections for things that are stylistically similar. It's like, oh, like, as you know, character design experiments, and you can say this one was for mermaid, this one was for etc., just to set the context, because that always helps. Are these like Bratz dolls? I love them.
Yeah, I was like, I often see so many different variations of like goth, and I'm like, okay, well, Black women have their own category and subcategories within goth. So I was like, why not showcase that and
That's true.
have goth Black girls? Because nobody really talks about it. I feel like we don't get that.
Definitely.
We don't get that representation.
We
So
don't get to, and I'm really glad that you're creating characters that are filling a need that is not seen in the market yet, like at all.
yeah,
And I think a lot of people want to see it, like, and a lot of people are missing seeing that, so they don't feel like they can fully express themselves, or they fully, like, feel seen, because there's no examples of it. And I love that you, like, one of your mission statements is basically like you're representing these parts of the subculture of Blackness that is never seen. Like, no one ever thinks about Black goths, but we
yeah,
should, because we're out
yeah,
here, and
right,
and it's awesome.
right.
So I just love that. I just love that this is present. Like, you have some really good variation in your portfolio already. Oh,
Thank
I
you.
love her. Oh, she's
Yes.
hot.
Beatrice is she has a very special place in my heart. Yes. I'm currently working on a few different environments for her, particularly because I just love her so much. But yeah, she was kind of like a one-off design from an old design from like middle school. She's in, like one of my oldest characters.
Oh,
So
that's
yeah.
great. So she's been around for a long time.
She has been here for a minute. Yeah, she's had a bunch of redesigns, but she's just like your classic goth vampire bat woman who is going through her everyday life and trying to figure out how to live in these modern times. But yes.
Yeah. I would love to see you continue to build her out more. There's something really special here, I think. This strong silhouette with her hair, like reminiscent of a bat already. Like, just like, the way you've rendered her, the way you've presented her feels really fully realized. And I would love to see like a turnaround of her. I want to see more of her, like the line art version of her. I want to see what she does. Like, I want to know more about her automatically. So I don't know if I would include the sketches, since they're a little bit more messy than the standard of sketches that you've established. But these
Yeah.
two drawings here are just like really strong on their own.
Thank
Um,
you.
I just want, I can tell that you have a lot of love for her.
Yes.
So yeah, like, again, like minor things like her leggies, making sure that like this bottom leg feels strong in terms of, like, and like I think it gets a little bit weaker here compared to the top half. I love the dress and the fabric treatment, but just like the leg and the way you've rendered like the bottom of her kneecap and her calf, just make sure that anatomy is a little bit more sound, and make the shape language as strong as you've made the top of the shape language here. So just, again, that consistency throughout the whole character design is really important. But again, like this here is really, really strong.
Thank you.
No problem. Oh, I love this.
Yes.
How do
And
you, so
this
how do you
was
pronounce your name?
uh Finola. Finola, I'm pretty sure. So this is based off of an old Irish folktale, where four children get turned into swans by their evil stepmother, and they have to figure out a way to turn back into humans and find their father back at home. And I decided to take the story and keep it Irish, keep it, within the same time period, but make them all Black, because I'm like, you don't see Black. The one thing about Cartoon Saloon, I love their work. I love the focus on the Irish folk tale, but I'm always curious. I'm like, what would these characters look like? What would this look like with Black people? What do the Black individuals look like in this universe? So that
Yeah.
was something that I'm really exploring with this project. I definitely added my own spin to it. It's not completely Cartoon Saloon, but the inspiration is definitely there.
Yeah, for
So yeah.
sure. Yeah, it's definitely your own, I think. Again, I really like how you're playing with these strong shapes, like the shape language and the hair. You're really pushing and pulling the extremes of what it could be. And I think that's really unique. In your character designs just in general. Like, you're not afraid to push and pull those shapes and those silhouettes. I think some of them could be a little bit stronger. Like, I think the distribution of color in your character designs. I think this one's probably the strongest, because you get a nice continuous through line throughout the dress, and some of them feel a little bit more like, like if you squint your eyes at this one, it kind of all falls together. So you want to make sure that you have those like nice contrasting points and points of interest to draw your eye through the whole character design, while having that like, strong style. So I think this one, I like this hair a lot. I think this is my favorite hair, but this is my favorite dress because you get a nice flow throughout all of it.
Yeah.
And again, like I think if you're going to push your hair shape language this hard, you can also push other things this hard too. And you have like these nice billowing sleeves here, but I think that like you could even like go even stronger with these shoulder cuffs. I don't know what you call them. I don't know fashion terms. I'm really bad.
Yeah.
Like with these poofy sleeves, with how you like flow the dress, like you can just like really push and pull. You could play with those shapes even more. I know you're not afraid of it. So, oh, this is nice. So I feel like this is even stronger Cartoon Saloon because you've really played with the line art language here.
Yes.
Yeah. And again, same deal. It seems like the top half of some of these characters are more realized than their bottom half. So make sure that you're giving that same attention to your the entire body in your character design. Because again, I think this is really strong and it kind of falls off down here. Like we lose a lot of interest. So just like be aware of when you do that. And again, proportions as well. With making these legs feel like there's joints and bones in them. And that like they feel balanced on their center because he's leaning forward a little bit. I think it's okay if he's like leaning a little bit with like the weight on one leg, but just like really make that pose accentuated so that it feels like there's real weight going on that character.
Right.
Oh, this is nice. Yeah, I like these clean designs. I would probably separate these out unless, oh, never mind. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
you can click through and
we can click through. I'm a fool. Yeah, these strong shape languages are really nice. Like I can definitely tell your influences here, but again, it feels like you. This is nice. Yeah, like now I might retract my statement. I don't know if you need too much more going on in the bottom half because this top half is so interesting and it's coming down to the bottom anyway. I'm sure it's nice. Yeah, I almost kind of like I think that the sketches of the characters here are like pulling down the expectation of what I finally get to see. So maybe make these like a little bit smaller or de-emphasize them a little bit more, just so you can show the stronger turnaround here. Because I think this is really strong.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Oh, hey, buddies.
Yes. So they turn into swans halfway, if not like a quarter into the story. They turn into swans, and then most of the story they're swans. So I did different variations of the swan types and just trying to push and work on proportions and color value with them.
Yeah, again, I really like your shape language and how you push and pull this. Like there's a lot of movement to this, and a lot of personality. So these are really, really cute. Little sketchy swans. Oh, these are fun. Yeah, very Song of the Sea. Like
yes.
Your inspirations are very clear. And I think that like maybe also adding a disclaimer to let everybody know, like it's obvious that you're self-aware of it, but if any reviewer like wants to doubt, then you can say inspired by Song of the Sea, I explored this project in this style. And that's totally fine. As long as you're like putting your influences up front so that they know. I would just suggest doing that. And also maybe not using the papyrus as well. It always bothers me.
Okay.
Like, no, not papyrus.
Right, yeah.
That's a personal graphic design nitpick. That's not like a major thing. But these are really nice shapes. Okay, let's see.
Yeah, so that's my character design. And then
there's a lot of nice stuff in here. I think you can definitely edit some of these things down. Like I said, the sketches here I feel like are not as strong as what you've ultimately presented. So de-emphasizing those, not ultimately removing them, but just like making them a footnote to the actual turnaround that you've landed on. I might remove some of these, even though these are really cool. I just think that feels a little cluttered. So find a way to resolve this, but I just love these character designs. Maybe make this a little bit stronger here. I love these cuties. I would keep them. The Tuca and Birdie character designs are really nice. It doesn't tell me anything extra about you that I don't already know that you're capable of, but it's nice to see that you can do different styles. And it does look very Tuca and Birdie, but I feel like, I'm getting a little bit of like the culture and these character designs, which I love, but I know that I just know it's Tuka and Birdie, so it's hard for me to see you through it, even with like the culture added to it. So
Okay.
take that as you will. I don't think you have to take it out outright, but once you like reorganize your portfolio a little bit, see how it's standing in. I feel like it's not, again, like it kind of sticks out to me as like, oh, like she's doing this to show that like they can do Tuka and Birdie, but that's really it. So just like take that as you will.
Okay.
Let's see. I love these ladies. I think that these looser character designs, while I love them a lot, I think that you have so many strong examples of your character design in your portfolio that I might relegate these to social media
Okay.
instead and
Okay.
have your main portfolio be like the more professional, like presented character designs.
Yeah.
Even though they are really cute. I'm not sure what else you've been told about the character designs, if you've gotten the same feedback or not.
No, I haven't actually. But I was curious about that because with the people that I do reference, people always ask like, who do you reference when you comes to your career? What artists do you really like to look at? I can never really tell or never really 100% know what I should keep for social media versus what I should put in my portfolio because some of my stuff for social media is portfolio worthy, quote unquote, I guess.
Yeah.
But and other things in my portfolio I don't necessarily see putting like can be put on my Instagram, but like don't have to be there kind of thing. So with these, I just really love them. I felt like the shape was strong enough and it's unique. It shows my range and just my comfortability as well as like what I can do professional wise that I did put it in there. But I was curious about that. So like should, keep this to social media, put this on the portfolio, send this in professionally, keep this kind of like just socially. But yeah, I haven't heard that yet. But I was curious about it.
Yeah. And I think honestly, it's a little silly, but there's always small things that catch my eye as a hiring manager or a portfolio or a reviewer of I can't speak words today, a reviewer of portfolios. And like it's like the little things like how you incorporated the that fuzzy brush from Procreate on top of the character design that makes it feel honestly a little bit more muddy than it has to. Maybe experiment with like if you don't have those there. I would actually be really curious to see it because I think that it's been applied so much. Like I don't mind it here because obviously it's the texture of her coat, but everywhere else I feel like it's distracting from the overall silhouette and cleanliness of your character designs. And so you don't want those effects to kind of start taking away from what you have here. So just
Yeah.
experiment with seeing what it looks like without it. And if it looks stronger, then maybe put that back instead.
Okay.
Just throw me a little bit. Minor note again.
No, yeah, yeah.
Okay, with these, I like these, but I don't. So I like Mikey a lot, like especially these. Like these are really strong. And his turnaround is pretty cool, even though I probably would clean it up just so you can get like that full, again, that presentation that you've established that you have.
Yeah.
I think his silhouette breaks a little bit in his back 3/4, because I think like here I'm not quite getting what this is because he doesn't seem like he has the volume to fill this out. So
Right.
make sure that the proportion, like not the proportion, but the silhouette that you've established in his front view is the same as his back view because that's what it would be. It's breaking just a little bit for me because I know his arm is doing that here, but it wouldn't be doing that here.
Right.
So just be careful of things like that, and I would just clean this up.
Okay.
I think that Dana, she's really cute, but I think that these are less strong than the other character designs that you've shown me because the
Okay.
proportions seem a little bit off with her, as well as like the face proportions. They don't feel as strong as the other characters that you have.
Right.
It feels a bit all over the place, and I'm not getting a sense of the character, even though I can tell like, well, here she's like might be playing soccer. Here she's like a bit more like, a smart girl. And like these two seem a little bit more generic. So I don't get really a sense of the character,
Okay.
but Mikey feels pretty realized as a character. So again, your portfolio is only as strong as the weakest piece that you present in it. So you want to make sure you're calling out the weakest pieces and you have more than enough strong pieces to not feel like you have an empty portfolio if you take them out. So don't be
Right.
afraid of editing them out. Yeah. And Brandy's cute too, but let me see. I'm just going to look. But again, Mikey just feels so much stronger than Brandy.
Yeah, Mikey can. I might Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Where it's like Mikey is strong enough where he can hold his own, while as Dana and Brandy are not as strong.
Yeah.
So
Because again, if you're in the same universe, and you have like these two different characters, like these two explorations of the same character, they have wildly different proportions in terms of how their head, how their bodies, how their legs are proportioned
right,
against everything. So it can
right,
feel like these feel like two different shows, and you don't want that.
right,
So this, again, it's not a very strong example of what I know you're capable of.
right.
And again, you have more than enough to show that. Yeah, these are fun explorations. I like these explorations of Mikey and what you've ended up with. He's giving me that like a little bit of Urkel, a little bit of like
Yeah, yeah.
it's cute. Definitely that 70s vibe. Yeah, I love all these. Again, like the few edits that I have for these characters, but overall, this is really, really strong.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, I just want to look at your viz dev real quick though
Yeah.
and see what's going on. Oh, this is delightful. Let's see. Angie's room. And of course it is. Angie's room. Wait, did we meet? Wait, we met it. We didn't meet Angie. I don't know Angie.
No, not yet. This is just like an exploration of, I think, like as you keep going, you see my exploration of her character.
Mhm.
But she's basically just your average, what is it? Gen Z Black girl who lives with her parents and has a multitude of different hobbies that at the end of the day sometimes don't get finished. So the room is messy, it's colorful, it's big, it's bright. You have paint and vinyl in the corners. Maybe she did crochet, maybe she was an artist, maybe she picked up the guitar but never finished it, was a skateboarder but never skates anymore. Things like that, where it's like she's really just like a big representation of me and how I was growing up and being artistic, but not 100% knowing how to get all of your artistic juices out into one medium. So you kind of just pick up everything and then drop it. And then you pick up another thing and you drop it again. She is a maximalist and a heavy spender. So often she'll buy something because it was a deal or they were on clearance or look at these new shoes, always on the phone, social media freak, all of it. But yeah.
All of this is very well conveyed in that character design too. Like I can like all the things that you said, like yeah, like 100% she is.
Yeah.
You've done a great job with again, you're really good at getting that personality through your characters and like you don't even have to write the text or tell the story because I already can tell she loves it was on clearance and like her manically on her phone and her styling itself with all the things in her hair and all that's going on. You can tell who she is and her room reflects that for sure too. Um, this is a really fun character. I like this a lot. She's so cute.
So yeah, and within this section, I put a lot of like different thumbnails, color variations, value variation, things of that nature, just to show my process. Um, yeah.
Yeah. So I think here again, this is like a minor note. Where her wall meets the where this wall meets this wall, like I feel like I would want to see this attached because it feels a little jarring with it just being open.
Yeah.
So just like seal that. I know
It was
ISO
definitely hard because her room is technically an attic. So it
it
was
has that
hard for
slant
me
to the
to
ceiling.
figure out. Yeah, it was hard for me to figure out that ceiling just because when I pushed it more, you couldn't see any of the posters on her wall.
Yeah.
And you get like all of the tapestry that she has on that side of the wall would be completely gone. So it was hard for me to figure out how I wanted to do it. I ended up just like kind of detaching it to show that. But I don't know. How would you suggest me going about fixing that problem, I guess, while still being able to show the things on her wall? Because I wanted that. The posters are an important part of her design as well. I want
So
to
what I
show that.
would so what I would do if it's a room like this, you don't necessarily have to go ISO with a view. You can go
Okay.
with blown out perspective, like I not fisheye because fisheye is a pain, but just like a lower angle so that you can actually see the slant of the wall. Or if you're determined to go ISO, break this wall off like say like here's like the give me a silhouette of what the wall would look like, and then show the wall in the angle where you can best see the posters, because you want, like in a background design, you want to show off all the details of the room for the background design, for the background artist to be able to replicate it in all the different views. And so in order to successfully do that, you need to show me the best view of a wall that has all this detail on it. So if ISO is not the best to show this off, then don't have that wall in ISO. Take it out, have a impression of where it would be, and then give me the full wall as it would be with like that little slant incorporated, like show what the angle is, and then show me the front of the wall and all the things that are on it. So that's the way that you do it in background design, because you want to detail that for the artists. Because like, again, I think that I don't think you forget this, but this is just a general note for everybody who might be listening and who might also be wanting to develop a VizDev portfolio. You really want to give consideration into how your team is going to be using it and why you're making this asset. So the reason why we make background designs and prop callouts is because we want to give a reference to the more detailed things that you're probably not going to get all the information of in your base design. So if you know that you have a cool detail in the room, but it's not being shown off in like the illustrated version of it, then call it out. Have like, you see the vanity mirror, you see the record player, you see the bed. So these are all call outs. If there's anything else like that, there's a croconana. I just noticed that. It's so cute. I have a croconana myself.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
I love those.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you see anything that isn't as detailed as it could be, and you know that somebody who's trying to replicate the room might get confused, break that out and make a call out of it. Break it out and make a straight shot of it. Like again, the slanted wall can have a straight shot of it, and like just show me what's on that wall, and just have an arrow pointing to it, like this is this wall and this is what's on it. Or a poster call out, even like here's an example of what the posters look like. You don't have to go that deep, but it's an example of the things that we tend to see when we are doing background design, or background art rather. Because like you have the poster callouts here too, which is great. Because I was a background artist. That was actually my first job in animation, was as a background artist. So it was always really important to be able to know what the full room looked like, because we had to know how to render it out and in the back view and the front view, like when you're looking down on it, when you're looking up at it, because you're probably going to get all angles of this room, especially if this character spends a lot of time in it. So it's okay to make it more detailed than it is. Or not than it is, but then you generally would, because this is a main area. So very important. Also, again, little things, even in your sketch, you want to make sure that your perspective is sound. Because again, like you have a clear ISO here, but then you like fall off here. Having a strong sense of perspective. I don't know why I forgot that word for a second. Having a strong sense of perspective is really, really crucial when you're doing background design. So you want to be able to display it in every example of the design that you're doing, even in your sketch phase. So that's just a professional, like, a note, because I will notice that like in a split second.
Right.
I think these little color explorations, while cute, they don't really give me the full sense of what you actually ended up with. So I think that I might take this out. I think I don't mind these as much. I think you said did you go with one? I don't know which ones you went with.
And so this is separate in my illustration, and I probably should not do this. I should probably go back. If you exit out of the formatting view, if you go to my illustrations page and you scroll all the way down,
wonderful.
I have a keyframe based off of the background that I made.
Sorry, I'm just like looking at your illustrations. I'm distracted.
No, you're okay. So this is the keyframe based off the background and the character design that I had made before. This keyframe is not as strong, which is why I did separate it, because I like the work and the buildup that I created towards this, but the final product did not end up as strong. And this is because it was my first go around at something like this, and a keyframe that was so heavily background focused. But that's basically the context to the color variations and the value studies that I have in the other page.
Gotcha. Definitely having that payoff is really important, but also if it's not as strong, what did I say?
Yeah, take it out.
Take it out. So
Yeah.
if you're still working on this and you're still developing it, then definitely you don't have to put it in your portfolio if it's not ready to be shown yet.
Right.
So all the exploration and everything that's supposed to build up to this, take that out too, because we're not getting a payoff from that exploration. Now tell me why it's not as strong.
I felt it wasn't as strong because of I feel that the work that I did towards the color variations didn't pay off. It didn't translate. My values, I have a habit of my values getting muddy at points when it comes to, or at least before, that I am currently working on and tirelessly trying to correct within myself. My values can get muddy and I can get messy when it comes to them. And the design itself, I really like her as a character. I love, but this piece, value wise, composition isn't horrible, but just not as strong, I feel. And the lighting is all like for me, I can tell that this was my first go around. This was my first time doing something like this. You can kind of tell. It's just not as strong. Definitely a milestone, but not something that should be in the portfolio, which is now what I'm realizing. So
It's so first off, it's great that you can acknowledge very succinctly and clearly what it is that, first off, where you were at in terms of your own artistic process, that you weren't hard on yourself about this is not quite what as strong as you'd hoped for, but that it's also your first go around, so it's not going to be as strong as you'd hope for, because backgrounds are fiendishly hard, especially if you're used to doing characters. And also, this is a lot of detail to have in one background, so balancing all that detail is not easy. So the fact that you can acknowledge all that and still, like, you know, be like, you're critical about it, but also you're kind to yourself, I think that's very important. Please keep that, because what I don't want from anybody who's like first getting into exploring a new thing is to be hard on themselves. And so you're not insulting it, you're being honest with like where you were at, and you're being able to identify the areas that could improve, but you're also not saying, oh, this sucks. Like it's just not time for the portfolio yet, and that's not a bad thing. It's actually a great step to be able to take that first deep dive into a background, especially one this detailed. This was also hard mode. You didn't have to go this hard on a background. You really didn't, but you went for it. And I appreciate that. I respect that. But definitely with a background with this much detail, you definitely want to start from kind of like building up to something like this, because this is ambitious.
Yeah.
So as a background artist, what were you about to say?
Nothing. Go ahead. Yeah,
okay.
You're right.
Yeah, as a background artist, what I can definitely you called it out already. Your values that you set up do not pay off here, because when you squint your eyes, there are a lot of different things competing for your attention. So when you're doing a complex background design, you want to make sure that all of your props have a hierarchy and where they land and how you recognize them. And so what I would do in these areas back here is create a color unity between them, make them a little bit more monochromatic, make them a little less detailed in terms of like, you can identify that there's books back here, but you don't see each individual book, because all of that contrast is going to compete for your attention. You don't make the plants here as saturated as the plants up here, because that's going to compete for your attention. So your eye's going to go back and forth. You want to, especially in a detailed scene like this, you want to control where the viewer's eye is going to go first, second, third, fourth, and how it travels around the canvas. And if all your values are competing for attention in terms of saturation, in terms of the color language that you're using, then it's going to become confusing. So that's why I think your values are not communicating as much, because you don't have those strong, points of contrast here. And if I can stop share and reshare, I can actually break it down for everybody who's watching to really get a sense of it. By the way, your work is a joy to review.
Thank you.
I like reviewing portfolios that are like already good. Like you're like some people are like, who present them, like they're doing their best, and a lot of like people have farther to go than others, but you really like I feel like you could get a job out of college. Like this is awesome. So just letting you know that.
Thank you.
No problem.
Oh my
Just a little bit of editing down is so much better than having to like, oh, you need all this and you need all this. Like you really don't need all of anything. You just need to edit. That's it. And that's a much better problem to have than the alternative.
Yeah. Okay.
So good job.
That means it means a lot because definitely deal with the stress of like, am I doing this right? Is it good? I don't know if it's good. We're gonna keep trying, I guess, because I don't know if this is good. Like we're just going. So yeah, that means a lot to hear
Yeah.
you say.
I
It's hard.
absolutely mean it from the bottom. I don't say that just like, I don't give that out easily. I can be a tough reviewer and I hope I'm not too tough, but
No, this is everything. I think this is what I've been quote unquote, I guess you say craving, because a lot of the times, sometimes people don't necessarily know, like they know something is off, but they don't know how to help you.
yeah.
So getting a review from you and you being so critical helps so much because it only allows for me to keep improving and just taking what you said and applying it and continuously trying to do better. So I appreciate it,
Yeah.
truly.
I'm really glad I can help and thank you for sharing that. All right. So something, especially as I'm building out my illustrations, something that I love to do is making a duplicate of my art layer and desaturating it completely. There we go. So now squint your eyes at this and tell me what you see.
Um, like I it's a lot of gray. Like I can see what I was trying to do, but it just is not work. It takes me a minute. It takes it a minute for it to click. Like the separation between the floor versus the corner of the room, because it's darker in value, it's coming across, but the tapestry is the same value as the bed, is the same value as the top of the room, is the same value as the what is it called? Dresser.
Yeah.
So it's hard to see the distinction between everything. Um, and there's so many patterns happening. I don't think it's bad, but it's just like the values. That's all. That's the only thing I can think is just like the values are not reading.
Yeah. So I agree. And I will say your value structure isn't like it's not terrible. It's not like becoming all gray, one tone or anything like that. There's a bunch of lights, darks, and medium tones here, but the issue is where they're located in the piece and how they
Right.
draw your eye. So like when I first squint, I see this bright shape here, this bright shape in the front, and this plant. But what you want the viewer to focus on, I'm assuming, is her with her cat. And so
Right.
you want to make this the area of strongest contrast so that this draws your attention first. And then everything else, you determine what your second read is, which is probably going to be the wall to take you down to the back of the room, to take you around to the front of the room, and then pull you around the canvas in a way that draws the eye. So I'm not going to do the whole paint over now because that takes a while, but what I would do is have like a nice strong contrast on her face, like maybe a nice bright ray of sun, while also setting back these plants and just giving a little bit of that subtleness. Subtleness, is that a word? I don't know. Making this more subtle.
Yeah.
Maybe making the crocanana more silhouetted in the front so that this helps frame her better. Making this shadow around this poster darker so that it can also help to frame her and draw your eye into the circular space where the character is living, maybe giving a nice strong contrast on the edge of the bed. So there's and again, like making these values a lot more flat in the background so that it's not competing for attention, but it is last read, because there's a lot of interesting stuff back here, but all that detail set back will help you focus on the main point of the image. And the main point is her. So I think as people are building out their compositions, think about what is your first, second, third read and how you get the viewer's eye to stay within that first read a little bit longer. And also where you establish your areas of rest. Because especially when you're working with a maximalist room, think Howl's Moving Castle, for example, with his bedroom, think about how those values don't compete with each other and still allow you to focus on what's supposed to be there. And obviously that's a background. That's not a full illustration, but same principles. The animation has to stand out in front. The animation has to complement the background, and it has to tell a story. This is an illustration in a full scene. How does this full scene tell the story? How do you get the viewer's eye and how do you make those conscious decisions to get the viewer's eye to travel around the canvas to follow the story that you're trying to tell? I think that's what you have to think about when you're making backgrounds, which is why they're so challenging. So think about those things. I would love to see you revisit this one day.
Yeah.
I know you're busy with college and everything, but seriously, like I would love to see, like, you know, if we continue on this mentorship, how you build that out. I'm gonna stop
Yes.
sharing. But it is really beautiful. So I'm not going to go through your illustrations just yet, even though
Yeah.
they are gorgeous. I want to see it, but I'm going to save that for the next episode. But
Yeah.
before we go, do you have any questions?
Um, whew,
I know it was a
thank you.
lot.
Yeah, that was a lot, but thank you just in general. Thank you so much because it is really challenging to maneuver going into visual development and character design. And it feels like you're walking in blind at times where you're just like, okay, I'm just gonna try and I think I know, but I'm not sure. So I'm just gonna estimate. But this helps a lot. And I just want to say that all of your points and everything when it comes to like my tangents and whether or not, keeping true to the characters themselves, and just everything that you commented on means a lot to me. I don't have as many questions more than it is like just checking back in
Yeah.
and asking for your continuous help and mentorship with my designs and characters and everything having to do with that, and pushing to see it be applied. I guess my question is with visual development and with backgrounds and environments, what would you say is the biggest thing to see in a visual development and like background portfolio? Like, are isometrics most important? Are props most important? And do you feel like what things do you feel like are good indicators of like, okay, this person is able to work with intricate detailed backgrounds or designs when it comes to environments or anything having to do with that nature?
So what I want to see the most is that you put that same amount of love and care into your backgrounds and props as you do your characters. I want to see that you're treating your backgrounds and prop like their characters. Like that's the biggest advice that I would give to anybody who's doing backgrounds, especially coming off of a character designer for the first time, and you're exploring this new space of backgrounds, props. They should have that personality come across just like your characters have their personality come across, because your scenes and your environments, no matter how simple or complicated, I don't need to see a complicated background. Does it convey what you want it to convey? Does it give me a sense of what that setting is? Does that setting fit with the character that you're putting in it? I think that that's what I want to see the most. I want to be able to see how you call out your different details. And, again, it doesn't have to be a complicated background at all, but is it clear? Can I read everything within? Do I know where I am? Do I know what kinds of things I expect? Do I know the personality of the character who owns the shop or who owns the room when I go into the room or when I look at the prop? Does the prop have its own personality? So it's really about conveying that sense of realness in terms of making this thing a believable component of the world that you're creating. Does it fit within the world? Does it convey that personality? Does it look like it belongs in a cohesive lineup with these characters and with these backgrounds, etc.? That's what I want to see. And so what I would suggest to you, what I would really love to see, I would love to see a background from the world, your magical roller derby world.
Yeah.
Would be super curious to see that be explored, because I think that would be a nice cohesive project. And you're already part of the way there anyway. You have your character designs pretty much ready to go. So I would love to see what a rink looks like. I would love to see what their rooms look like. I would love to see what like some more props look like, if they wield a weapon or if they, I saw your skate and your glove call outs.
Yeah.
Those were really strong already. So a background to complement all of that would be really nice. And start simple. You don't have to do it complicated. You don't have to throw the works at it and be all maximalist with it, even though it's really cool.
Yeah.
I think that you can keep it simple, because I think Nina's room would definitely be probably more, conservative and a little bit like, more of her personality. I would love to see where she lives. That would be cool.
Yeah.
So it's really about how do you convey that personality? And I think that's a really good first experiment. And also, is this a cohesive look? Like, can I see the angles? Can I see what's in here? Would I be able to do a successful background art based off of this background design? Because that's what it's going to be used for. So that's really what I would want to see. You don't have to do the whole works. You don't have to do super complicated. It just has to be a cohesive background that fits with the rest of the world and has its own personality, the personality of the whoever owns that background. Or it could be its own thing too. Backgrounds are characters as well. Think of them like that, and it really helps a lot.
Awesome. Thank you.
No
I
problem.
appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No
Like,
problem. This was really fun, Nia. I really
yeah.
appreciate you coming on today and doing this. But we're gonna do a part 2 soon. Let's check back in 2 weeks, and I would love to see your progress. I know you're in the middle
Yeah.
of finals, so please pace yourself.
Yeah.
But if you want to tackle those minor edits, if you want to tackle, a background, it's up to you where you want to go. This is a little bit more informal because this is the first one. But
Yeah.
let's check back in 2 weeks and see how you've progressed.
Yes. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Your review has helped me a ton, and I can't wait to be back. It means the world to me. Thank you.
Awesome. No problem. All right. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us in the live chat today. And also, please leave a comment. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this episode. This is a new format that we're trying out. So if you have any feedback, let us know. But thank you so much for joining us. It means the world. And we will talk to you later. Bye.